The land of two fields was a heaven that had to be earned through good deeds. Those who committed crimes or whose hearts were weighed down by regret were denied entry into this place, and whilst Osiris did eventually make these lands more accessible to us, it was Anubis who was the original watcher of the dead and decided our fate. But who exactly was this Anubis? Hello everyone, I hope you're having a great day, and if you enjoy the video, go ahead and leave it a like. With that said, let's get into this. With the body of a man and the head of a jackal with black fur, good Gubus fits right in with all the other Egyptian deities. Apparently Gubus gained his jackal head because jackals just couldn't keep themselves away from tombs and dead things. The Egyptians hoped that giving hopeful prayers and their faith to Anubis would in turn have the god protect the dead from desecration, and also protection from natural withering. His in-game weapon looks to be the divine scepter carried by the gods and kings of Egypt. He can also be seen as an actual jackal that remained incredibly loyal to Isis, still with black fur, and I'll tell you why that's the case in a bit. Gubus offered a hand in rites which allowed the dead to be received by the underworld. Anubis was credited for his inventing of embalmment, as he did so to Osiris after he died, ensuring that the king would have a second chance of life. He was such an expert in this craft that it became one of his many important duties to watch over the embalmment of corpses. He would then collect mummies and rest them inside of tombs before performing an opening of mouth ceremony. Lastly though, he was respected greatly as he kept a watchful eye over the scales of truth, safeguarding the deceased from trickery and death without end. Now he was the original god of death, but Osiris, being the best dad ever, stole the title from him because everyone liked him more. Now, because Osiris stole his job, Anubis was left to personally guide spirits between the afterlife and the earth, making sure that none would be left behind. Some texts say that the feline Bastet, or the goddess of cows Hester, got together with Ra to make Anubis, but according to most myths, our jackal friend was the son of the siblings Nemesis and Osiris. As per the tradition with most other gods, how they actually came together differs from myth to myth. Nemesis, being a little jelly of Isis and wanting some of that kingly booty, may have gotten Osiris drunk before working a bit of her seductive magics. Or perhaps she asked Loki for some transformation pointers and turned into Isis, and then the two bumps each other that way. Either way, we now have Gubus. Anubis married a jackal-headed goddess like himself, Anput, whose name was indeed the female version of Anubis's. Together they parented the goddess of purifications, Kebech, and Anput herself was the 17th nome of Upper Egypt. So Seth, brother of Osiris, was kind of a dick in a sense. Remember when I said Nemesis got Osiris to father her child? Well, as her husband, Seth was none too pleased about this, and as any angry husband would do, he decided to act in the most rational and justified way imaginable. He vowed to slay the child as soon as it entered the world. So because of this, Nemesis was forced to hide the child, being Gubus, within some marshes by the riverbank of the Nile. Luckily for everyone but Seth, Isis, the goddess of mothers among other things, found the young jackal and raised him herself. Now, Seth was still pretty pissed at everything, mostly Osiris for sleeping with his wife, and so killed him, also separating his kingly body parts all over the desert. And by all of his parts, I do mean all of his parts. Gubus, who decided to protect Isis, decided to repay her by accompanying her as they found Osiris's lost limbs, and Gubus even embalmed the parts to make sure that Osiris could breathe again. Set, after attacking Osiris's body, disguised himself as a panther. Of course, he knew that there would be some people who would be pretty mad because he killed Osiris, and he had to hide. Gubus, however, said no, and found him, marking his fur and forming the leopard's dots. Thanks to this, priests of Anubis wore leopard skins to memorize his victory over Set, who may or may not have been, according to some myths, his actual father. Which would be pretty ironic, and kind of funny, in a messed up sort of way. The Romans thought of Anubis as more of a common jackal than he was, and they overlooked his fur, specifically its color, black, signifying that he was a special jackal, as no jackal alive had black fur, but also the color linked him to his role with the afterlife. Anubis was also linked to the Roman god Hermes. Anubis, being quite the guardian, received a lot of epitaphs for protecting tombs in the Valley of Kings in particular. He earned the title Jackal, ruler of the bows, as he warded off 9 bows, meaning enemies of Egypt. For defending the necropolis and watching over the hill above the Tiber necropolis, he earned the title He Who Is on His Mountain. Think of the necropolis as a giant graveyard, a contender for the largest graveyard in the world, if you will. Anubis was just as much a friend to us as he was a foe. You remember this line from the game, right?
I have weighed your heart, and you have been found wanting.
Well, it refers to Anubis being the guardian of scales. Anubis would weigh a person's heart on scales. If proven unworthy, they would be denied eternal life, and so Anubis was pretty important. Well, that about sums up everything I have on Anubis for now. Thank you for making it to the end, and if you enjoyed, why not hit the like button? If you're new here and want to see more content, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, and if any of you have any god that you would like to see soon, go ahead and leave a request in the comment section down below. The next god should be Skadi, and then perhaps I'll do a follow-up video for Mercury's video. With that said, have a very good day. I've been Prime, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.